Today is Tuesday, May 26, 2020, and the time is 7 p.m., and we are opening the Conservation Commission meeting. As a preliminary matter, this is Doug Packer, Chair of the Newbury Conservation Commission. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Board members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Brian Colleran?
Yes.
Dan Streeter?
Yes.
Ben Gahagan?
Yes.
Bill Lord?
Yes.
Kevin Stransky?
Yes.
And Peter Pecos? No Peter. Did Peter, I saw Peter earlier. Did Peter drop?
No, I just needed to be unmuted.
There you go. Okay. Good evening.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Gretchen Gerard.
Yes.
Excellent. This is the introduction to the remote meeting. Good evening. This May 26, 2020 open meeting of the Newbury Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all public meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. There is one note here, though. Hearings that are continued and things that we don't normally take comments on, we will not be taking comments. This will be consistent with our normal meetings. For this meeting, the Newbury Conservation Commission is convening by video conference via Zoom, as posted by the Conservation Commission's agenda, which can be found on the Conservation Commission page on the town's website. The agenda identifies how the public may join the meeting. This agenda can also be accessed from the website's homepage by clicking on the box that says Agendas at the top of the news box. For Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and that take care not to screen share your computer unless you are requested to do so by me. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Meeting materials were provided to the board and committee members prior to the meeting for review. Board members, I realize that we had a little glitch this month, and usually all these documents are uploaded. That didn't happen this month. I did try and get some materials out to you late this afternoon or mid-afternoon. If you are comfortable with those materials when the hearings come up, say so. And if you're not comfortable with them, say so also, and we'll make arrangements to get materials to you. Please note that some public hearings may be continued. The date and time of the continuances for public hearings will be announced during the discussion of the hearing and after I've established the ground rules for this meeting. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. For any discussion items, I, the chair, will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, everyone other than board members, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Please use earbuds or earphones with tablets and cell phones. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes, and take care not to screen share your device. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Board members will be called upon in first name alphabetical order to ease the process. If board members wish to engage in colloquially with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. For items with public comment, the chair will open the floor for public comment for that particular hearing. If you have a question, please use the raised hand function within Zoom. We'll allow you an opportunity to speak. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And now I'm going to turn this over to Susan Noyce for a minute.
Hi there, just a couple of minor things. Does everybody know how to raise their hand within Zoom if they have a question?
I do not.
Okay, so if you, I'm going to give, shake your head yes or no for those that are muted. So within your screen, you should, on the bottom, when you put your cursor over the bottom, you should see a menu open up. You should see a raise hand function there. No?
No.
No.
Okay. It was there yesterday when I tested it. That's interesting. Okay, so so I guess in the absence of that, I'm not really sure why that's not there.
Susan,
Yeah,
you have to pull up the participants list. And when you pull up the participants list
Yeah.
over to the right, down
Yeah.
on the very bottom to the right, it will say
Yeah.
raise hand.
yeah, it's
Mhm.
not on mine, but
So you
I
see a
don't,
list of all invite,
yeah, open. So click on the participants
right? And then
and
the
on the
participant.
bottom right, do you see a raised
Mm.
hand?
Yes.
the participants
Okay.
list, that's it.
So once you, if you have a question, it will give me that icon. And then what I will do is I will go through once the agent or chair opens up for questions. So just be patient as we work through that process, okay? Also, if any of you are going to present by way of sharing your screen, when the agent turns it over to you to present, if you could just let me know that so I can open up the screen sharing to you. Otherwise, you can present as is. And that's
Thank you,
it.
Susan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Susan. First on the agenda, we have from Stephen and Kathleen Mellifant at 90 Middle Road, a notice of intent to replace a failed sanitary disposal system. We have heard from their engineer. He has a conflict tonight and would like us to call him later in the agenda. And I have indicated to him that I will do so. We have from Al Ward at 80 Northern, a continued notice of intent to demolish and reconstruct the existing single-family home. The applicant is requested to withdraw the application without prejudice, and that would be my recommendation to the board. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, then I will go to a roll call vote to drop this from the agenda without prejudice. Ben Gahagan,
Yes.
Bill Lord,
Yes.
Brian Colleran,
Yeah.
Dan Streeter,
Yes.
Kevin Stromsky,
Yes.
and Peter Pecos.
Yes.
Everyone answered in the affirmative. The hearing is dropped without prejudice. We have a notice of intent to construct an addition from Ron Wellin at 354th Street. Is Ron available?
I'm here. Yes.
Good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
Doug, hold on a sec.
Yes.
Do you need to voice vote for that?
A voice vote for,
Well, we all went through the, the affirmatives and said yes.
yeah,
That's fine.
that's how I would take the vote.
Right, but did you vote?
Excuse me. No, I did not vote. Thank you. I will vote in affirmative also.
Okay.
Well, this is going to be challenging. Thank you. back to Ron.
Yes.
Hi, Ron. A couple of questions for you.
Yeah.
You have a 7,200 square foot lot,
Yep.
so you're allowed 1,440 square feet. You're adding 554,
Yep.
but I didn't see where this drawing was at scale, so I really couldn't scale out the rest of the footprint. Have you done that that computation for
Yes. It's
zoning 20%?
It's, I have it, and I have that full worksheet that I've completed for the zoning board of appeals.
Okay.
So I have the details, but if I recall correctly, I have currently 900, it can't be that much. I think it's 870 square feet with my existing building.
Okay.
And then there are 2 ground level decks effectively. One's an entryway, the other one is a deck that will be removed in preparation for this construction project. So it would be 870 plus the 500 and you know, whatever it was, 54.
So you're pretty close to the 1440 when
Yep.
you, okay. Can you forward that to us, to the commission?
You bet.
Okay.
You bet. So that I have that whole worksheet. Yeah.
All right. I noticed that on your elevations, it shows 3 steps up. I take it you're going to match floor heights, existing and
Yes.
proposed. And then
Correct.
down the end, it says 24-inch minimum. When you project your existing floor height out there now, do you have that 24? Has that already been verified?
It's about that. So we're anticipating that if it's too close, that we may have 1 step up into the new space. I
Okay.
think it's probably like right about 23 or 24, depending upon you know, the measurement. But yes.
I would caution you to cut it that close. When you get workers working around the building, 24 inches is the minimum and 24 is 24. We've had some instances, especially, your lot's pretty flat, you probably don't have that circumstance, but if there's an adjacent dune or a little bit of sand kicked around, it doesn't take much to make up an inch. And then you're sort of in trouble. So pay careful attention to that.
Yep.
What type of pilings?
It's going to be the helical screw type pilings.
Okay. What else did I have for you? Have you applied to zoning yet?
Yes and no, I did, but I did not get my abutters mailings out in time. So I'll be reapplying for June.
Okay, so you have.
Yep.
And I note that there was nothing underneath the addition, so the addition is going to be kept wide open?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I have no other questions for you, so I would like to open it up to questions from the board members. Do any of the members have any questions or comments for the applicant?
I do. If I could ask a question. Hopefully I'm not getting confused with whatever, you know, I don't have the thing in front of me right now, but is there any impact to the vegetation on the lot? And is there any replacement of vegetation lost or what's going on there?
The area that we're projecting to add the addition is really just, it's not even grass. It's not seagrass per se even. It's really just grass and gravel. We have a parking area that currently is gravel that extends into part of that zone. And then we have a grass area that covered what used to be the leach fields for our septic. And so that's the area that would be dug up. It's basically all sand or grass, but not of seagrass variety, just kind of basic regular grass.
Is there an opportunity there to to mitigate some of that loss and to replant in some of these bare areas that you have?
Well, you know, everything is pretty wild on my property. It's all basically sand and seagrass. So I don't really, except for that area where I have the 10 by 10 deck, that area when I remove the deck would be available for, you know, mitigation, I think.
Fair enough. Ron, do you also have a shed?
Yes, and that
I
will
thought-
be taken down, not replaced.
Okay, all right, good.
I forgot to
Because
mention that. Yep.
All right. I'm sorry, Dan, I kind of took over your question. Did you?
No, for instance, those two areas you talked about, the shed and the deck, I mean, it might be nice to include some detail about what you intend to do with that.
Yeah, and most of the area where the deck currently occupies will be covered by the addition. And so that area where the shed sits, it wouldn't be possible to mitigate there because it will be, the addition will be over where the shed is now. For the other area that is the corner of the lot that has the wood deck, that area certainly would be available for that purpose.
Ron, are you in ownership of the property?
Yes.
You do own it now, because
Yep.
before it was you were the applicant and there was an owner in your
No.
application. No?
No.
Have I got
It's
the
always-
wrong?
Maybe my wife and I.
Your wife is Leslie Albright?
Yep.
Okay, I got it. Thank you for connecting those dots. Again, any other questions from the board members for Mr. Wellin?
No.
Then I will go to the audience. Are there any abutters here that would like to speak on this project? Hearing from no one and seeing no hands from the board, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Move to approve as presented, as long as we have a good plan. I think we have all the details. We're going to have an approved plan. Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Doug, sorry, before just going off what Dan said, do you have a plan that shows an aerial with where things are being built? Because that wasn't provided to us.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
No, please, Doug, because I do, but I should make sure that you do.
Yes.
Okay.
You do, Doug?
Yeah, well, I have the plan of work, and of course, it's an addition to an existing home, so it's obvious where it's going to touch down. I don't have a site. Hold on one second. The site plan that we have is more of a construction drawing than the traditional site plan that I think you may be thinking of.
Yeah, I just was, as long as you're comfortable, you know where it's going to go, and I'm just looking at aerials of the property, and I don't have any uncomfort, but as long as everything's, I just can't see it, so it's hard for me to understand.
He's up close to his lot line. He's going to be going to the Zoning Board of Appeals, and again, we have a drawing with dimensions with the existing home, so it can't go too far.
Okay. I'll provide a second for the motion.
All right. So now what I will do is I will take a roll call vote on the project. And I will start with Ben Gahagan,
Aye.
Bill Lord,
Aye.
Brian Colleran, Brian, are you still here with us?
Yeah. Aye. Aye.
Dan Streeter,
Yes.
Kevin Stransky,
Aye.
Peter Pecos,
Yes.
and I, Doug Packer. Ron, you still there?
I'm here. Yep.
We're good with your project. Would like those that additional information that we talked about, so I could enter it into the file. And
Yep.
you might want to put mitigation that we talked about down on, some of, draw it out, or either draw it out onto your plan or include it in writing for us.
Okay. I will
All
do
right.
that. Yep.
All right, Ron. We do have a DEP number for you, so as soon as you get that stuff to you, we can issue an order of conditions.
Perfect. I'll do that this evening.
The order of conditions that you receive will have to be registered at the Registry of Deeds. And there is a 10-day appeals period, and the 10 days are 10 state working days, and it starts the day after the postmark on the envelope that you receive your order in.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
Have a good
Yeah,
evening.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you all. Good night.
No, take care. We have from Elizabeth Black at 23 16th Street, RDA, to replace an existing exterior stairway. Is anyone here to represent Mr. Black?
Yep.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Let me get my hand raised properly. Thank you.
No problem. Would you like to present to the board, please?
I can. Honestly, I'm a bit handicapped. I am coming at this a bit blind. My brother's been handling this. He's in Florida. He's flying back. My mom is 92. She's been living on the island since, gosh, the 1940s in a bunch of different places, and has bought and sold. We got aunts, uncles, cousins. Everyone's been down there for years. She's on this place on Sandy Way, 16th Street, and she has an egress in the back of the house, and we have replaced the 3x3 landing that's on the back of the house. Didn't do any new foundation, didn't do any new pilings or columns, just took off what was there and replaced it because it was rotting away.
Okay.
So that's all we've done.
Yep. No, I can help you out a little bit with that. This is, for the rest of the board, this is an after-the-fact filing. It's been done. It is a means of egress for the home, and it was done in kind. Are there any questions from any of the members? I do have a picture of it here that I can hold up for the board that may be helpful. I don't know if that's easy enough for you to see. That's the stairway in question that we're talking about.
And basically there was the exact same thing there that was rotting away. So she just went and put a new one on the existing structure.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board members? Are there any abutters here? Or I should say, would any abutters like to speak? Seeing or hearing none, I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Move to accept. I don't know if it says this in the past. It's already built. I don't know how to say it, but I move to accept the application
As presented,
as presented. Yep.
do I have a second?
Second.
Then I will go again to a roll call vote for the project. Ben Gahagan,
Aye.
Bill Lord,
Aye.
Brian Colleran,
Hi.
There
I need to
Ryan
yell.
is-
Am I too far away from my computer for? Hi.
Let's see here. Dan Streeter,
Aye.
Kevin Stransky,
Hi.
Peter Pecos,
Yes.
and Doug Packer. Aye. Yes. Mr. Black,
Yes.
we are all set. It is a similar waiting period. Not a similar waiting period. It's exactly the same waiting period. The only difference is that this is a, no, I'm sorry, this is an RDA. So you do not need to register this at the Registry of Deeds. You will
Okay.
receive the determination in the mail, and the determination, again, the envelope that you receive it in the day after the postmark is the first day of a 10-day appeals period. It's essentially 2 weeks, 10 state working days, no weekends, no holidays.
Brilliant. Thank you all very much. My mom thanks you as well.
You're very welcome. Take care.
Have a good evening.
We have a request for determination of applicability to replace the failing sanitary disposal system with a new system from Lou Boyd at 210 Middle Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Greg Hockmuth from Williams and Sparagus, representing Carrie and Lou Boyd for the request for determination of applicability filed for 210 Middle Road. I'm sure everybody knows where 210 Middle Road is. This is the yellow house set back from the road. It's got a detached garage out front. The house was built sometime around 1850, I believe. And the septic system could be the original septic system. It's showing signs of failure. So Carrie and Lou are being proactive, and they've hired us to design a new sanitary disposal system for them, which we've done. The lot itself presents some challenges. It's surrounded by wetlands, and this is a part of town that's, it doesn't have town water, so they're on a well. So there was really only one spot that the system would fit that would meet Title V setbacks, and that was in the front yard. So we were crossing our fingers that we found suitable soils, and we did. The soils were actually really good. And that allowed us to design a gravity system in the front yard. Because of the water table, it's slightly elevated. So we had to pull the hill. The house sits up on a hill. We're proposing to pull that hill out over the system so it won't look like a bump. It'll hide the system, but it's about 63, well, almost 64 feet from one of the BVWs on the left-hand side of the house. And it's proposed to be 69.4 feet from the other BVW on the right side of the lot. And the way the wetland works, it wraps around the front of the lot and it runs parallel with Middle Road. So we did our best to get it as far away from all of the resource areas as possible, and we feel as though we've accomplished that. I will say that all of the work is within existing lawn or landscaped areas. So that's a plus. We're not clearing vegetation to put this system in. There are 2 small ornamental trees that were planted that will have to be either relocated or removed. But that's basically it. We're before the commission because we are proposing work within your jurisdiction, but we expect this to go smooth. They have a contractor lined up, and they're waiting to get the green light from the commission so they can start the install.
Greg, it looks like a responsible plan. You're right. You're surrounded. There isn't a lot of wiggle room on that lot. So
There isn't.
you did a good job working that in there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any members would like to comment on this project?
I just had one question, which is the erosion control seems to have a gap up in the front lower corner of the drawing. And
It
I'm
does.
just wondering if that's a low spot, is that something where you might want a temporary erosion control? I assume that's access.
It is access. It doesn't show well on our plan, but there is a grass driveway that comes in to access that garage, and that's where we've kept the gap. We'd be happy to have some erosion controls on standby in case we need them.
That makes sense to me. Just it's sort of a gap, and it's on the lower end of things. So,
yep.
Good find, Dan. Any other members like to comment?
I'm just trying to read the plan, and so the elevation slopes down and away from the new septic towards the garage and the gap that Dan just pointed out, right?
It does.
What's behind it and to the left and right? Is it, did I miss that, or?
So there's a very steep hill in front of the lot now. It rises from elevation 12 up to elevation 20, and then actually 21 and a half at the front steps. So this proposed grading scheme is essentially what's there now. It's just pulled a little bit closer to the garage. And rather than, let's say, a 5-to-1 slope, the slope will be 3-to-1 off the new system. So a little steeper.
How much dirt is getting moved?
So we have to remove top and subsoil to get down to the existing parent material. And then we're going to build up the area with Title V sand, not just below the system, but 5 feet around the system. And a lot of the material that's removed will be used, but they will have to import some fill material just to conduct the grading that you see here. I don't have an exact calculation, but we're not in floodplain. It's really just buffer zone from the BVW.
Yeah, the line of thought I have has to do with, you know, if in the middle of digging we get a storm, will the erosion control, you know, cover it? You know, I can't read the plan that well for that.
Yeah, the erosion controls should hold up fine. They're butt right up against the garage in both locations. And it sounds like we're gonna have some on standby too, just to close off that construction access in case we do get you get these intense storms that are 2 hours, but you get 3 inches of rain.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as long as, Doug, you're not seeing anything in terms of, overwash, or, if it's going to be too big a hole and too much soil in too small a space, it's fine. It's just, sort of the question that came to my mind.
Anybody else? Are there any abutters here? Would any abutters like to speak? Seeing or Kevin, would you like to speak?
No.
Seeing or hearing none, then I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion on 210 Middle Road.
I would move to accept as presented with the inclusion of additional erosion control on standby.
second.
All right, now what I do with my list? Ben Gahagan, roll call vote.
Aye.
Bill Lord.
Aye.
Brian Colleran.
Aye.
Dan Streeter.
Aye.
Kevin Stransky.
Aye.
Peter Pecos.
Yes.
And Doug Packer. Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Same to you. We have a notice of intent to raise and reconstruct the existing single-family home from Mark Bachelder at 16 Riverfront. Is anyone here to represent Mr. Bachelder?
Yes, Devin Bachelder and the property owner, Mark Bachelder, are here.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, how you been?
Good, how are you?
Oh, this is a little surreal.
Yeah. So
All right, do you want to start?
Absolutely. This property is at 16 Riverfront. For anyone unfamiliar with the area, it's adjacent to the Parker River. Then there's a rather steep slope and a terrace on top of which are where all the houses on Riverfront sit. So this is an existing seasonal dwelling built around 1900, and it's being proposed to be torn down and replaced with a year-round dwelling. The entire property is located within the Riverfront area, and this project is proposing 4,652 square feet of impact in the Riverfront area in order to remove the existing structures, that's the house and the garage, and install a new house garage, deck, walkway, driveway, and septic. The house size and configuration are consistent with the adjacent properties, and they're proposing some improvements to the lot, including a drip edge to allow for groundwater recharge where there is currently none on the property, as well as a gravel driveway to limit the amount of impervious area, and a small native garden to allow for some vegetation diversity. And sediment and erosion controls will be installed prior to construction along the top of the slope.
Foundation. What about what's existing and what are you proposing there?
Existing foundation is it's a combination of cement blocks and cedar posts. We are proposing to excavate and put in a full height foundation, concrete foundation.
Okay. All your soils, you have stockpile areas. I noticed that nothing's identified there. Are the soils being removed from site?
Yeah, there's such a limited area to work with. It's going to have to be transported off-site.
So right into a dump truck and out?
Correct, yes.
Okay, okay. What else did I have for you? Not much. You did a pretty good job. You must have helped your daughter with this one, Mark.
Yeah, I put her through school.
That's all the help you can give her, right? Oh, the only other thing I noticed is you had a comment about MEPA, that you were a single family home and that you didn't need to apply to MEPA because of that, relative to the ACEC. Now, I noted that there's no work in the ACEC, so you're not gonna, there was no work on the dock or anything like that, was there?
The ACEC actually in that part of Riverfront, it's really strange. It comes up along the top of the slope. It's very odd. It's just the way it's mapped. I don't think it was meant to be mapped that way, but it's mapped such that the ACEC skims the top of the slope.
Oh, so that's why you mentioned it. Yeah, it should be elevation 10, so I'm surprised it's way up there. Okay.
It's just, it's shown on the map, so we want to make sure it's clear. Yeah.
Gotcha, gotcha. I have no other questions for the applicant. Would the other board members have any questions or concerns?
I might have a question. So I don't have the plan in front of me, but it didn't show that. I think there are some trees right along the edge of the bank in front of the house.
That is correct.
They don't really show up on the plan. And there's the erosion control involves some, embedding it into the ground, the way that thing was drawn. And I'm just sort of, I think our concern in this whole area is just the stability of the edge of bank. And I know you said no trees going to be cut, but maybe some of the way the erosion control is being proposed might damage some tree roots. I don't know.
Yep. The erosion control method we chose was hay bales, because silt fence, you have to dig in a trench, so that would be a little bit more destructive in that area. With the hay bales, you just stake in. There's only a couple of places where tree roots might be in the area, and those hay bales will be carefully placed.
Just for the record, the detail that you showed on your hay bales does show a 4-inch embedment. The USDA, the USDA application there shows a 4-inch embedment.
So basically, you might make a note or something that you're just gonna stay on top of ground, concerned about those trees that are in between the house and the riverbank.
Yeah, we can put them on top and stake them.
That's it for me.
Any other questions from board members? Are there any abutters that would like to speak? I will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
I move to approve as presented with the modification to hay bales not being trenched in and rather being put in with stakes.
Understood?
Do I have a second?
I'll say.
Roll call vote. Ben Gahagan,
Aye.
Bill Lord.
I'd like to recuse myself.
Okay, fair enough. Brian Colleran,
Repeat, Brian.
Usual.
all right. Did we get a thumbs up on that one? Dan Streeter.
Yes.
Okay. Kevin Stromsky,
Aye.
Peter Pecos.
Yes.
Did I go to Dan Streeter?
Yes, you did.
Doug
Yes.
Packer, yes. Did I leave anybody out? Mark and Devin. You folks are all set.
Thank you.
You're very
One and
welcome.
all.
Thanks, Doug.
Have a good night.
You
too.
also.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. We have a notice of intent to add a second story to an existing single-family home and replace the existing entry stair and landing from Danielle Bradshaw at 10 Exeter Way.
Good evening. For
Good
the record,
evening.
I'm Michael Seacamp Environmental Consulting, and I'm representing Danielle Bradshaw at 10 Exeter Way. It's moving the entryway and landing, the stairs and landing from one side of the house to the other. That's the only impact that will be on the ground with this project. I actually considered filing a request for determination of applicability, but where it's in a resource area, coastal dune and barrier beach, we decided to go the route of notice of intent. And I noticed that DEP has not issued a file number for some reason. One of the reasons they speak about is the check didn't clear, but it cleared, I think, within a day of when they accepted the filing. So I've been trying to get a hold of, apparently Rachel Freed is the analyst. I'm sure she has her hands full at this time. I did get emails back from Heidi Davis and from Alicia Guylan, just letting me know that it was probably in Rachel's purview. Have not heard back from Rachel. However, just to answer some of the questions that she had, one is it appears that we're not even in a flood zone. It looks like, and I have the firm meet here that I could bring up and share the screen if you'd like to see it, but it's a 0.2% chance of floodwaters being 1 foot in that area in any year, which I think if you do statistically, that's 2 years out of 1,000. So it's on a hill on Plum Island. So maybe she assumed because it's Plum Island that it's in a floodplain. Also, there's no change in the grade. She mentioned, what is the change in the grade? The elevations are on the existing conditions plan. There's an elevation at each corner of the house, and which shows, and then there's a proposed plan which shows where the entryway is going to be moved to. The only change really is that there's going to be a roof, a dog shed roof attached to the house, not attached to the ground, which is about 29 square feet. That doesn't exist on the current entryway. There'll be no impacts to vegetation. And let's see, I don't know if you took a look at that lot. It was actually 2 lots at one time. The second lot is completely vegetated with native shrubs, and it's pretty unusual, actually. There's a big space. So anyway, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission has regarding DEP. I'm sure we can get that resolved.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one with that issue. I've heard that from someone else also, that the checks have cleared, they've got them back, and for some reason there's a broken connection there somewhere.
Yeah.
I hope DEP can get that straightened out.
Yeah,
I agree.
Rachel is currently the acting head of the Northeast region, so I'm sure, like I said, she's got her hands full. But anyway.
Yeah, I bet she does. For the board members that remember this double lot that was mentioned, there was a time when there was another home proposed on the second lot. So this is an alternative design to what they came forward with, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago. I don't have any questions for the applicant. It's a very simple project. Well, it's a rather complicated project, but from a resource impact standpoint, it's rather simple. So I have no questions for the applicant. I'll turn it over to the board members for any questions.
No materials to review.
No, would you like to hold off for materials to review? This is one that I didn't get to you, obviously. What usually happens is these come in and they're downloaded and then they're available to you. These came in March, and the assumption was that they'd been downloaded, and the whole system started to break down before that. So I apologize, they never did. I got some of them out this afternoon, but it was rather late. If you're not comfortable with this, if you're not comfortable voting on it, you let me know.
I'm looking at the satellite view, and it's pretty obvious to me where the stairs are, where the entry is moving to. And I was first concerned with the lot coverage, but I didn't realize that lot next to it was also part of it. So I personally don't think we need to review the plans. I think if you've seen them and you're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it.
I am comfortable that this is again, a rather simple project relative to its impacts. Any other board member have concerns and they would like to share? Are there any abutters here that would like to speak? I will then close the public hearing and entertain a vote.
Motion to accept as presented.
Second.
Ben Gahagan, for a roll call vote. Bill Lord.
Aye.
Brian Colleran. Dan Streeter.
Aye.
Kevin Stromsky.
Aye. Peter
Pecos.
Yes.
Doug Packer. Aye. I'm going to assume that Brian's was another yes. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm having trouble hearing him when he's voting in the affirmative. So
I can read lips well enough to say that was an aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We're all set.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot.
Take care,
Bye, folks.
Brian, you may want to say like aye, or say it twice, because I think your computer's taking too long to like turn on the mic or whatever it is. So when you say it just quickly, it doesn't catch it. But if you say it twice, I think it might pick it up better.
So aye.
Yeah, that'll work.
Thank you.
I will be the designated pirate. It's okay.
Is Millennium Engineering here yet to represent Melonfant at 90 Middle Road?
Yes, we are.
Oh, beautiful. We have a notice of intent to replace a failed sanitary disposal system from Stephen and Kathleen Melonfant at 90 Middle Road.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And thank you for moving us to the end of the agenda. It was of great help. My name again is Matt Steinell from Millennium Engineering. I'm here tonight representing the applicants with their request for to replace their septic system. Who is actually hosting the meeting here tonight? Is that Sue?
Susan Noyce is hosting the meeting, yes.
It says I can share my screen so you can see the plan, but it says it's disabled and Sue needs to give me permission. Here we go. All right, can everybody see my screen?
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, so the so the applicants own both 88 and 90 Middle Road. They occupy the residence at 88, and they're in the process of upgrading the septic system for number 90, because currently there is one leach field out front here by the road, and it services both dwellings. So we got together with the Board of Health, went out to the site, conducted some soil testing on both lots. One, we wanted to do it for this one here as it needed to be replaced, but two, the other lot at 88, we didn't want to, when we adjusted these lot lines, to carve off the only workable area for both lots and leave them with nothing. So we did soil testing on both parcels at the same time. We then contacted the services of Mark West over at West Environmental, who conducted a wetland evaluation back in September of 2019. And he hung the flags here. They go back further on the property. The Melonfant's property goes considerably further back. But there's a W series in here. And then we, on the plan, added the 50-foot buffer zone here and the 100-foot buffer zone here. The area is predominantly, and this is, we've been to the site multiple times to conduct soil testing, and the trouble we had is everywhere we poked around, it was really, really shallow to ledge. And in the areas where we found some depth, it was either too close to a wetland or we were getting into some pretty poor soils. So we were very happy when we found this area here that worked, and another area over here that worked for this home. What we're proposing to do is abandon the existing septic tank that's in this same general area, replace it with a new combination 1,500 gallon, 500 gallon pump and septic tank, and then to install a pump and through the force main here, pressurize the sewer out to our leach field, which is comprised of the advanced Presby pipes, the C33 sand bed, and then a distribution box where it would then step down the slope of the hill here. So it follows the contours of the hill. It doesn't end up looking as large and ugly sticking out of the ground. It hits that D-box, hits several zones, filters through this, and then you find treatment here and the waste discharging to the ground. We're proposing to install an impervious membrane on 3 sides here in order to cut back the side slopes so we're not having to push the fill out as far, encroaching not only towards the wetland, but onto the portion of the land once the lot line is locked in, that would then be in ownership for the abutter next door. We got erosion control here, and we're provided you with an erosion control detail down here, showing a 9-inch silt sock or approved equal. Essentially, the impacts here are all within buffer zone. The resource areas identified was vegetated wetland. We also looked at the flood hazard area and at the ACEC. The ACEC is on the opposite side of the road. It does not come on this side of the road, and the flood hazard is an area of minimal flood hazard identified as zone X. Within the buffer, it looks like the majority of the work, almost a little over 2,000 square feet of the 5,000 square feet is greater than 50 feet away. And you have just the 859 square feet that is encroaching within that 50-foot inner buffer zone. And I'll pan up here and you can see that even still, the majority, when you got the 50-foot here, the majority of the impacts are within that first 5 or 10 feet. It's really at its furthest extent from the wetland that we could make it. If I change tabs here, does that update on your screen as well?
I see the public notice.
Okay, so there's confirmation of the public notice. We've also got DEP file number. They received it.
You did finally. Okay.
Yeah, they received it on the 15th. In typical fashion, they didn't issue a file number until the payment had cleared. And the fact that the DEP file number is now populated tells me that the fee's finally cleared. And then I believe I've already emailed to Gretchen the certified abutters list, labels, but I have them here. And beyond that, I think I've beat this horse to death, and I'll answer any questions.
Yeah, I would agree, Matt. I think you did a lot of homework on that one. I don't think that you had a lot of wiggle room. I looked at those first 2 knolls as I looked down the lot. My assumption was that you'd already looked at them and that they were ledge. So,
oh yes,
you didn't have a lot of options. Any questions or comments from the members of the board?
Doug, I think I have a question, but it's more of an education thing. And
Sure.
So when he says they've taken samples around the lot, is there like any kind of proof of that is provided to the board, or do we just say, okay, you know?
Well, I don't usually get, or we don't usually get involved in the sampling. Where this is over 50 feet from the wetland, really all as our authority is the impacts from the short-term impacts due to construction. If it's within the 50-foot, then we do have the authority to look into it and to see if the system is also working correctly, if the soils are correct, but it's really not our expertise. And so what I do is I default to the Newbury Board of Health, and even when it's within the 50, I don't question the workings of the actual system.
Okay.
If I may quickly too, for Kevin's information, as well as any member of the public that may be watching, that information, although not provided to the commission unless requested, is actually a public document with the Board of Health. When we do our soil testing, we have to provide that record to them so they have it to complete their file. So it is available.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Would any abutters like to speak? I will close this public hearing then and entertain a motion.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
Second. All those in, whoops, no, we can't go to that, can we? That's a habit. For roll call vote, Ben Gahagan.
Aye.
Bill Lord.
Aye.
Ryan Colleran.
Aye.
Dan Streeter.
Aye.
Kevin Stromsky.
Aye.
Peter Pecos.
Yes.
And Doug Packer. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Peter, that's like the reverse of your signature.
We have some certificates of compliance. We have a request for a certificate of compliance from Harry Trout III at 36 Fordham Way, 50-1122. I did a site visit on 5/20. Actually, I had done a previous site visit and I had gotten a as-built from the engineer, and he had taken crushed stone and gone down the right-hand side of the house with it. And it called for sand. So I went down there on the 20th, and they have replaced the stone with sand. There is sand there now. So I find that the 36 Fordham Street project is done in substantial compliance. And that would be my recommendation to the board to grant a certificate.
Move to issue the certificate.
Second.
Roll call vote. Ben Gahagan.
Aye.
Bill Lord.
Aye.
Brian Colleran.
Aye.
Dan Streeter,
Aye.
Kevin Stromsky,
Aye.
Peter Pecos,
Yes.
and Doug Packer, aye. We have a request for a certificate of compliance from George White at 16 Hutchins Road. It is DEP number 50-1268. This was a retaining wall that he'd done out of stone. I went down there, took a look at it, did a great job, did exactly what he said he was going to do. Didn't get out of his bounds. So again, it was done in compliance, and it would be my recommendation that we grant the certificate.
Move to issue the certificate.
Seconded.
Roll call vote. Ben Gahagan,
Aye.
Bill Lord,
Aye.
Brian Colleran,
Aye.
Dan Streeter,
Aye.
Kevin Stromsky,
Aye.
Peter Pecos,
Yes.
Doug Packer, aye. We have a request for a certificate of compliance from Mark Farrell at 6 Northern Boulevard for DEP number 50-955. This one's got a little bit of a story behind it. They sold the property. The property has since changed hands. When they sold the property, I don't know if you remember, they came before us for a certificate of compliance, and they had some mitigation to do in the front yard. They bought all the plants. They applied for, or the house sold. They realized that they weren't going to get a determination very quickly out of the board the way conditions were. And so they had all these plants at the house, and the owner called me and asked me what to do with them. And so I told them to put them in. I told them to put them in as we would have approved and as the determination would have shown. So we've got our 12 feet by the distance across the yard. I can't remember what it was. We have fences that are set above and below the plantings, and they have gates in them that the upper gate is further north than the lower gate, making it a proper passage down to the water, not a straight shot in. I don't have verbal permission to give people, but my comment to him is that if the commission had trouble with him putting in the dune grass, then the burden then goes on to us to show that he had violated the act and done something to degrade the resource area. And I told him that I would have trouble doing that if he planted his dune grass. So I allowed that to go in the ground, and with that, that project is in substantial compliance, and it is my recommendation to the board that we grant the certificate.
I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
Do I? Roll call vote. Ben Gahagan,
Aye.
Bill Lord,
Aye.
Brian Colleran, Dan Streeter,
Yes.
Kevin Stromsky,
Aye.
Peter Pecos,
Yes.
Doug Packer, aye. We have a request for a certificate of compliance from Mark Farrell at 6 Northern Boulevard, 50-955. I'm sorry, we have a request for a certificate of compliance from Dirk Messler at 8 Finnegan Way. This was a little parking area out front. It's about 50 feet long, maybe 8 feet wide, and a raised garden. I was down there, they were going to sell the property, so it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was some time ago. The project was done in compliance, and is my recommendation that we grant the certificate.
Move to grant the certificate.
Seconded.
Roll call vote. Ben Gahagan,
Aye.
Bill Lord,
Aye.
Brian Colleran,
Aye.
Dan Streeter,
Aye.
Kevin Stromsky,
Aye.
Peter Pecos,
Yes.
and Doug Packer, aye. And we have a request for an extension permit, 50-1168 from Julie Samasco at 104 Pine Island Road. I took a look at this. This is that as you drive down Pine Island Road, when you get to the dog leg at the very end, it is the property that is right in front of you. Small cottage on there. They applied some time ago to tear that down and replace it. They have asked for an extension permit. The one thing I was concerned with was their height above flood. And they did plan that to be over 13 feet to the first floor, so that's in compliance. I think that she is on standby here if we have any questions, because I know that most of you, or if not all of you, were not even on the board when this was first put in. So if you have questions for the applicant, please feel free if she's here. Julie, are you with us?
I am.
Hi.
I am.
How are you doing?
I am. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Do
good.
any of the members of the board have questions for Julie?
Not about the permit. There's some signs I have questions about.
Okay, well, tonight is going to be about the permit.
Okay.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Then it is my recommendation to grant the extension permit for the 104 Pine Island Road 50-1168 DEP number project.
I move to extend.
Second.
Do I? We'll go to a roll call vote. Ben Gahagan.
Aye.
Bill Lord.
Aye.
Brian Colleran.
Aye.
Dan Streeter.
Aye.
Kevin Stransky.
Aye.
Peter Pecos.
Yes.
And Doug Packer. Aye.
Awesome.
Julie, thank you.
Yes.
That was
Thank you.
that was easy, and you can talk to
That
Ben
was-
sometime.
Yeah, apparently. Feel free to reach out.
Okay.
Should I be scared?
No.
I'm friendly.
He's
Have a good
friendly.
night.
Yeah. You also.
Oh, good.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I'll try to get off this. Bye. Thanks.
Our last piece of business is commission reorganization. We've been talking about this for quite some time, but it is here now. And I was wondering if the board wanted to vote for a chair. That is going to change. You will have very shortly a new agent. And I believe that you have made the comment that this time around you want the agent and the chair to be separate. So given that, it would be one of you that would take the position of reading the agenda and running the hearing, and the agent would take care of all the technical stuff.
Question. Do we have any idea about potential replacements for your spot on the board, and whether or not that person might be interested or capable of doing a good job in the chairperson role?
We do know who that is, but I cannot really say until the 1st, until June 1st. So I'm going to hold off on that. I would think that this person is very capable. They are very familiar with public meetings. I don't know if they've run any, but that would be up to I guess, for you to question this person and find out what their comfort level is and what your comfort level is with their answers.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I hate to boot the can one more time, but I'm wondering if it's worth letting that person have a go if they want it.
There's nothing to lose by going to the next month. I'm still going to be here. We're going to run another meeting. We'll have another meeting before I leave, and that person will be present. So maybe that's a good time to push off the other business, the reorganization, if you wanted to.
I mean, I'm only speaking for myself in that I don't have the I'm not interested in being the chair because I don't have the time. I'm happy to fill in when needed as vice chair. So if there's somebody in the meeting now who would like to be chairperson, I'm sure it's worth discussing, but otherwise, it's, or if people, whatever, everybody else, I just wanted to bring it up.
Sure.
If there's somebody here who wants to do it, then let's go ahead and have a vote.
Doug, do you know if the chair should be a member of the board and a member of the board has to be a resident?
That's a good point, Susan. So what we're going to have is we're going to have a non-voting agent, would be my guess. So one of you would likely end up being the chair.
Yeah, I think that we're all in agreement, or I think most of us who discuss it are in agreement that the next agent will be non-voting per what's kind of standard protocol in the Commonwealth now. You old dinosaur, you.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. It's said with love.
That was said in the nicest possible way, I know.
Do you have a question, Bill?
I did, but I think it's been answered that if the new person can't be the chair, can he not be the chair? Or
The new person can be the chair, but the new agent will not be a voting member.
Yeah,
Am I
and
correct?
I think you're correct in that. I think that they could still serve as the chair, but again, you're right. They would not be a voting member.
could we have another Zoom meeting like this with just the board to meet this new person?
Yes.
And then, not do business, just do an introduction and meet this person.
Well, I was told that they might be here tonight, but I haven't seen them. So I guess that didn't happen. But Tracy told me that might happen. So, but she's asked me to keep quiet until the 1st of June. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We can put it together. It doesn't take very long to do that.
If we don't want this person to be the chair, I guess it's not so important that we have a meeting because we wouldn't make him the chair, him or her the chair. But so that's why I said my question's kind of been answered. If they're not going to be the chair, then I guess we need to decide who's going to be the chair.
Yeah, that's up to you guys. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it doesn't have to be tonight. If you do want to kick this can a little bit, I don't see any reason why after the 1st, it doesn't take very long to set up a Zoom meeting. I would imagine that we could have one. It would be a small group. We'd have to get it posted, and then we could bring him on, and you could reorganize prior to the next meeting if that was something that the board would rather do.
I mean,
if we had that discussion, is that a public meeting?
I would say yes. I would say yes. We would get together to deliberate the reorganization of the board. I would think that would be a public meeting. I would default to yes, it's a public meeting unless town attorney told me no.
Fine.
well, I'm out. Peter's not going to do it. So, so it's down to the 4 of you. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I feel like I've probably missed too many meetings, and I don't know if I would have the time to do it.
The only thing I want to remind you of is that the new chair is not going to have my role. So yeah, what you're going to do is you're going to read off this piece of paper. That's really, and then you hold order in the court, so to speak. But other than that, you're not going to have to expand your knowledge base in any way to be the chair. So don't be concerned about that.
The new agent would give recommendations like you have for the past, whatever.
Absolutely. That would be their job, is their job would be to review just like I have and to alert you to things that you should know and see and be aware of relative to the act, yes.
Just a question here. When will we find out who the new agent is?
They come on board as of the 1st. And again, I was told maybe a week and a half ago, that they were going to be here tonight to introduce them to you guys. But they're not here, so I don't know where that.
Useful to, not just have some introduction before we actually have a meeting where they're acting agent.
Well, if that's a consensus, then why don't we leave it at that and we'll arrange for that to happen. How's that?
I will say Brian's been strangely quiet over there. Whereas,
I'm just watching everybody else drop out and just being like, okay, so the person that doesn't step back, you don't have to step forward, not step back. I'm not
still
against
applauding.
it.
You're not against it?
No, like I'm like, all right, whatever.
I nominate you.
I'm not for it. But I'm all like, all right, if I have to, fine. But
Let's punt till after the first, and we can have a meeting to meet the new conservation agent, meet the new commission member, and even if we are feeling ambitious, we can consider the language that I introduced for new structures in the ACEC.
Yes. I think that sounds like a plan.
Do we want to look at calendars right now, or just do it via emails?
I don't know. Does anyone have any plans anymore?
Until they let me out of the house.
Yeah. I guess I have a question for Susan.
Yeah.
Any time frames I should be looking at for setting up this next meeting?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the calendar here.
I'm still soaking in how Dan's word choice in his questions. I thought that was awesome. That was the best use of useful I think I've ever heard. It would be useful.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
So I assume you do this in the evening?
I would think so. People have jobs and things like that. It's not going to take us very long, and we're doing it from our homes, so it's relatively easy for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think any night next week works okay. You could even do it a little bit earlier if it's more convenient for you guys.
Okay. The only night, the only day that it wouldn't be convenient for me would be the 3rd, which is Wednesday.
We will have a planning board meeting, and I think the 2nd, there's a board of selectmen meeting. There might be a continuance. I'm not sure about their issue.
Do you want to try for the 4th? Is the 4th good for everybody?
I think that can work.
I think that can work. My wife may be away either the 4th or the 5th. I'm not entirely sure, but I can push for the 5th if it's going to be the 4th.
Okay. So, and a time, you're looking at 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock? What time would the board members like to convene?
If we did 5, I could be, I think, free either way.
Is that too early? Is that pushing it, Ben?
It's fine for me.
Okay.
It works.
Everybody else is, so we're looking at 5 p.m. on the 4th or the 5th?
Not the 5th. That's Friday.
Yeah, okay. So we're looking at 5 p.m. on the 4th. Let me go down. I might as well roll call this so that we all, it's not chaos. Ben Gahagan.
Yeah, sorry. What did I miss?
You are voting to have a meeting to
have we ever voted to do that
So to add to the confusion, if I could, if you wanted to do Tuesday, which is the 2nd, you could do it at 5. The selectmen don't meet till 7. So that's an option as well, if that's better.
Would you like to do that? That works for me.
It works for me.
All right, what I'm going to do, though, that works for me. I'm going to go down and I'm going to take a roll call vote. We'll see where we end up.
We're at, the 2nd at 5 p.m.
June 2nd at 5 p.m. Yes. Ben Gahagan.
Aye.
Bill Lord.
Yes, aye.
Brian Colleran.
That was that aye.
Dan Streeter.
Aye.
Did Dan get in there?
Yes, sir.
Kevin Stransky,
Yes.
Peter Pecos,
Yes.
and Doug Packer. Aye. So we're talking about June 2nd at 5 p.m. We will have another Zoom conference for reorganization, and we will also be taking up Ben's issue on structures in the ACEC.
I have an MRI on Thursday and a follow-up with an orthopedic surgeon on Friday. I wouldn't assume that everything would move so fast if I had to have surgery as being on Tuesday, but never know.
All right, Ben.
I'll let you know if it does.
All right. If it does, we can continue your issue and we'll continue reorganizing, I guess.
Do I need to resend the text I sent back in February or March?
I've got it on the computer at work. I still have it. If you want to send it out just for convenience for the board members, I don't see anything wrong with that, certainly.
Okay. What are do the other board members want me to resend that?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anything else? Any comments?
Just a question. So our next hearings will be, we're going to try to get back on a regular schedule again, or?
I am going to try and get back on the 16th for the next one because we're still behind on the ones that are even coming in. So I've got another round of them on my desk already. These now, the ones that are going to be moving forward, some of them are advertised and some of them aren't, were previously advertised. And the law takes care of some of them, but the ones that weren't advertised, not. So there's going to be a mixed bag on the next, it's going to take a little straightening out to put the rest of them on the agenda, but I intend to get one for the 16th.
If I could just make a request, I really kind of like the idea of requiring the applicants to produce one PDF that's their whole application. I mean, I think Devin did an outstanding job. There was not any unanswered questions. There's that permit link is okay. Yeah, I realized maybe I should have printed stuff out that I look at there, but it's kind of like it's like going fishing.
You don't find it convenient. Okay.
I mean, particularly if we do with this Zoom meeting, what Matt Steinell did was perfect,
Yep.
I concur with Dan, like having a single PDF of the files relevant to a hearing is incredibly useful and makes life a lot easier. I mean, I have multiple monitors, so this is all because I'm all set up to be a geek, but it's great. I can, for Devin's, I had the map up and then I'm talking to you guys on the screen. So it's super useful to have that.
In worst case, I mean, Gretchen can also scan them and email them over too when she receives them.
Yes. Yeah, but again, it would be great idea to get a PDF off of everybody. And with that.
And hi, Gretchen.
Hi, everyone. I can't wait to meet face to face.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.
Anything else? Then with that,
Wait.
I will.
Peter?
I'm sorry.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. Although, wait a minute. Roll call vote. And all that in favor thing is just awful. Ben Gahagan.
Aye.
Bill Lord.
Aye.
Brian Colleran.
Aye.
Thank you, Brian.
Aye.
Dan Streeter.
Yes.
Kevin Stransky.
Aye.
Peter Pecos.
Yes.
Doug Packer. Aye. Thank you, members. Especially thank you, Susan. You made it much easier tonight. And I will see you all soon.
Very good.
See you all.
Night now.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.